was funny. Hey guys, so Lise wanted me to show my face, right? Because apparently I'm just looking at the wall. So in this FRQ3, we're talking about the wiper blades, right? So before I even read the problem, before even I read the problem or look at the figure, right? What I want to do is go to part C2, section 2, right? And I want to figure out the concavity. Is it concave up or is it concave down? Interval T1, T2. So T1 is G, T2 is J. So if I go up over here for G and J, obviously this is concave up, right? Do you agree, Luis? Yeah? So now from G to J, right, concave up. So if I go over here, just write in the beautiful sentence. This is concave up. Rate of change of function is increasing. On the interval T1, comma, T2. And there you go, right? I kept forgetting to mention, when you're talking about concave up, concave down, what are you referring to? You have to put the function, right? I didn't put that in the other videos, but hopefully you guys see this one and realize that, hey, you have to mention what function are you talking about. In this case, it's h, right? So now that we're done with that, now let's go back over here and try to figure out what's happening. So if I may, right, here we go. Let me erase this. So it's telling us here that the wipers start from left, go to the right, and come back to the left. So at time equals to 0 seconds, the wipers are farthest to the left, right? So this is 0, right? At time equals 1 seconds, the wipers are farthest to the right. So this is 1, and then if you come back, this is, well, 2. So now what's happening here? The center line is already given, right? So when it's farthest to the left, it's stating here that it's 0.75, yeah, 0.75 radians, right? So from the center point, if this is considered 0, right, this is going to be positive 0.75 radians, and for to the right, farthest to the left is going to be negative 0.75 radians. So again, if you want to think about this, think about it like up and down. Negative 0.75. Midline, we already agreed that is 0. And then you're going to go to positive 75. So let's take this and just erase it real quick, right? And now let's go into our graph. So if I go into the graph, right, there you go. At the highest is going to be 0.75. The midline is 0. For the y's, right, I forgot to put the positive 0.75. Right, and the minimum is going to be negative 0.75. So right off the bat, we already have the y value, so you get a point for that. So now, going from this, right, we already saw for part C, section 1, right? So again, the points are G and J. So G and J are this ones. So from G to J. So if I focus on function behavior, meaning minus, 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 or plus, 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 in this case, minus, 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 right? It is decreasing. And if I look at my y's, it is negative. So I have a negative function that is decreasing. So negative decreasing, the answer would be D, right? So there you go. So we have 1 point, 2 points. With the y values, we have 3 points. So now let's figure out A, B, C, and D. All right. Here, my amplitude, if I start at the midline, my amplitude is going to be 0.75 going up, 0.75 going down. So amplitude is just 0.75. The midline is 0. So in this case, the midline, the midline is 0, right? So A and D, you get a point for getting those two together. What about B? What about C? So let me erase this real quick. Let me erase this, and this, right? So now, if I go back over here to the graph, and actually the text, and try to read this, right? It's telling me I'm starting at the left at timer equals to 0, and when I go to the right, then my timer is 1, and if I go back to the left, the timer is 2, meaning that the period is 2 seconds, right? So, because we did one whole rotation from the left all the way to the right, and then getting back to the left, so where I started, I ended, that means I have a cycle, which took 2 seconds. So if I try to solve for B, the equation that I have to use is period equals 2 pi over B, right? So B equals 2 pi over the period, and the period we said it was, well, 2. I just plug it in. If I simplify this, it becomes 1, and I'm just left with pi. So this right here would just be pi, right? But what about Z, the phase shift, right? Before I do that, I need to find the x values. So I know the period is starting at the left, right? So the period is starting at the left, right? That means I'm gonna start at the negative because again, we agreed that going to the right was a positive 0.75, going to the left was negative 0.75. So that's where the negative came from. So here, I am not gonna put 0 here, but I'm gonna put 2, right? So now, how do I go from this? How do I tackle something like this? Well, obviously, this is not gonna be 0 here. Let me rearrange this. This is not gonna be 0 here because in order to have a cycle, right, if I start in the bottom, I have to end in the bottom. So if I take this graph and follow it, right, you're gonna notice that, hey, I'm gonna have to add some more to the graph, meaning that my 0 is actually gonna be starting there. And then again, my y is negative 0.75, right? So from 0 to 2, now that I have the bottom to bottom, what's in the middle between 2? Well, it's 1, right? What's in the middle between 1 and 2? Well, this is 1.5. So from here, you're gonna notice that you're going by 0.5 increments. So this is 2.5 and this is 3, right? So now, what about this one? This extra work, right? So I'm gonna have 0.5, comma, midline is 0, and there you go. So you get another point for finding the values of x. And how do you find c? Well, you need to figure out is it sine or cosine. And here the answer is, well, sine. And you focus on this one, on g, which is 1.5. And there you go. Good luck.